Ever wondered where the phrase caught red-handed comes from? Well, we're going to be diving back into history to find out the true origins of the term. The phrase caught red-handed is said to date back to 15th century Scotland, and rather uncreatively refers to when a murderer would be apprehended with fresh blood on their hands. However, the true origin of this term may date back to over 200 years earlier in medieval England. The stable stand, dog draw, bare back and bloody hand may not mean anything to you now, but hopefully will do by the end of this video. To understand the history of this term, you first need to know what a forest is, and if you're thinking it's an area of woodland, well, you'd only be half right by medieval standards. In the Middle Ages, forest actually referred to any sort of enclosed area where nobility could essentially preserve a certain type of game, such as deer or wolves or boar. This meant that a forest could effectively refer to any sort of terrain, from marshland to plains or heathland, and of course woodland. Importantly, areas designated as royal forests were off limits to commoners, who weren't able to hunt, gather firewood, graze animals, or forage on the land, with severe punishments such as maiming, blinding, or execution for those found doing so. Avoiding such punishments may seem as simple as not trespassing on the royal forest. However, by the early 1200s, over 1/3 of southern England had been designated as royal forest, stripping vast numbers of the population from the ability to sustain themselves. The greedy and powerful stealing land and enforcing laws to undermine and erode the rights of the population may seem impossible to imagine to a modern audience, but in the early Middle Ages, this was a very real threat. Famously, in 1215, King John was forced to sign the Magna Carta, limiting the power of the king and ensuring rights for people across the country. However, the Magna Carta did little to reinstate the rights stripped from people living in or around royal forest. With the death of King John in 1216, only a year after signing the Magna Carta, a new king sat on the throne, the 9-year-old Henry III. Henry's acting regent was none other than the famous knight William Marshal, widely considered to be the greatest knight who ever lived. At the time, William Marshal was 71 years old and had served the 4 previous kings to Henry III, both fighting for and against them at times. On the 6th of November 1217, William Marshal issued the Charter of the Forest, a complementary charter to the Magna Carta which extended the rights and liberties of those who lived in England. The contents of this charter were so foundational that it remained in force from 1217 all the way through to 1971, for over 754 years. So what exactly did this charter do, and how is it related to the term being caught red-handed? The charter mostly reinstated people's civil liberties, allowing them to hunt, gather firewood and use the royal lands for pasture. The charter also repealed the death penalty and other mutilation punishments for crimes committed against forest law other than those caught poaching the king's deer. The charter also introduced limitations on how the king's game wardens could arrest suspected poachers. In order to make an arrest, the game warden would have to have found the suspected poacher in one of the 4 following situations: stable stand, dog draw, back bare, or bloody hand. Stable stand means that the individual was caught with their bow drawn back in a stance ready to shoot. Dog draw refers to the use of hounds in tracking and killing an already wounded animal. Back bare quite literally means someone was caught carrying away the game animal that they had hunted. And finally, bloody hand, literally being caught red-handed, with the suspect's hands covered in blood whilst in the forest. Being caught bloody-handed in the forest, even though there was no game around you, was enough to be arrested and charged with hunting the king's royal game. The punishment was execution. So historically, the term being caught red-handed doesn't actually refer to being caught in the act. In the Middle Ages at least, being caught red-handed meant that you would be charged with an incredibly severe crime, even though there was very little evidence that you had done it. If you learned something new, or perhaps just enjoyed the video, please consider liking and maybe even subscribing, and who knows, we might even make a few more of these.